the Venezuelan people are celebrating the kidnapping of Maduro and the bombing of their country. Except they're not. The people who you're seeing celebrating are in Miami. They're not in Venezuela. As I said in this comment, there's only two types of Venezuelans that are celebrating right now. The old white elite that benefited from the looting of their country by American corporations because they were basically the house slaves. And two, extremely confused poor Venezuelans who are facing the economic hardships created by almost 1,000 sanctions that the US has imposed on Venezuela, and who have been duped by the opposition media into blaming the government and not the United States. In either case, let me show you what the media is not going to show you, which is how Venezuelans are actually reacting to the kidnapping of their president.
I don't know what the hell they just said. If you know exactly what they're saying, please let me know in the comments. This can also be the Democrats of Venezuela, right? So if something happened right now in America, the country would be split. So yeah, if forbid something was to happen to our president, any one of them, half the country is going to be cheering, half the country is not. So is he actually showing what the general public really feels, or he's showing what one side actually feels? Because when Charlie Kirk got hit, it was a whole side saying this is a beautiful thing. And then somebody from another country will look at it like, yeah, this guy had to be super duper terrible because they are cheering in America.
So that's how the actual people in Venezuela are feeling right now. This is why it's so stupid when creators come on here and talk about, you have to listen to Venezuelan. Well, what Venezuelan are you talking about? Are you talking about the fucking gusanos, the people that want their homeland to be looted, that are in Miami, that are in the United States? Or are you talking about the real Venezuelans, hundreds of thousands of which are in the streets trying to get their president back and affirming that the revolution keeps going irrespective of what happens? So what Venezuelans are you actually talking about? The four cats that are in the row celebrating, or the hundreds of thousands, if not even millions, who are in the streets all across Venezuela protesting this illegal and criminal kidnapping of their president and bombing of their country?
What part of arrest deep state politicians didn't Trump understand? But yet you have so many mega Republicans celebrating the liberation of Venezuela when Maduro was an asset for the CIA. Do you really believe that Venezuela was the primary suspect that overthrew the 2020 elections? Are you guys that brainwashed and retarded that you can't see that Maduro was put in place, and so was Dominion voting systems, so the United States government could blame a foreign nation on overthrowing a presidential election, when it was really our CIA who was responsible for the coup? So why are we going after a foreign intelligence agency asset when he was hired by our own government?
That makes sense on so many levels. A lot of people, let's call it false flags. A lot of countries do this psyop when they have these false flags. So they'll say that one country did something bad. Then you find out that they were the one funding that country. And then they'll also say that another country, let's call it country number two is terrible because they were funding the bad people. Then you find out from country number two that we only funded the bad people because you requested us to. We would have never did it, but you said we had to give them money. And then the cat's out the bag. Every single one of these situations is always them against you and me. It's always the big people against the small people, the everyday people. So when you see things like Maduro being, let's call it kidnapped, Maduro being kidnapped, captured, whatever you want to call it, it's not for the betterment of just you and me. It's for the betterment of them because it threatens their power. And once you find out the basics of exactly why they did that, it wasn't to liberate Venezuela. I don't think that people do charity work like that and say, you know what, we're just going to liberate this country while here in this country, people suffer. It's not that. You're talking about draining and acting like, you deserve an honorary reward for taking down bad politicians. When it's so many bad politicians, and Trump himself knows this, there's so many bad politicians that's hurting the American people that he can take down. It's so much. And he would skip over that to go to Maduro in another country and act like he's doing it on an act of kindness, when it's actually for the control of the oil.
Make that make sense. And then you have people like Alex Jones, delirious, delusional Alex Jones, posting month-old videos of protest in Venezuela and then getting community noted for trying to make it seem like the Venezuelan people were celebrating the actions of the United States government. When are you gonna realize that you're being lied to? But you're still going for it, eating up the slop, being led along like a good little peasant. I mean, look at the way that Maduro was responding to our federal agents when he was walking off of the airplane, telling them Happy New Year. This is not somebody who was just captured in the middle of the night, let alone kidnapped and taken to another country. This is somebody who knows that they're going to get off scotch-free because he was an asset for the intelligence agency.
There are two big issues that I'm focused on here. One, the oil. Venezuela has about 20% of the world's supply. That word, oil, was used 20 times during Saturday's press conference by President Trump. A lot of focus by the US president on what happens next to that supply, how it will be used, and American companies he referred to rebuilding the oil infrastructure there. So more talk about oil than drugs. In terms of the regime itself, if this was about regime change, then the work's not done because the regime is intact. Maduro's not there, but his number two is. In fact, she's now running the country as president, Delcy Rodriguez. The defense minister's there. The interior minister is there. So what's going to happen? Secretary of State Marco.
Well, first of all, I have to disagree with her there, because when it came to JFK, everybody was still there after he was ended, but LBJ did a complete 180. And he reversed everything that JFK wanted to do, or just didn't do it at all. So he went in a totally opposite direction. So it doesn't really matter who is intact when it comes to politics. It matters who's behind the scenes that actually does the controlling. I firmly believe that Donald Trump does not do the controlling. In fact, this is a controversial take. I really don't believe that America is run by an American. We have to wake up and understand that if America is actually run by somebody that is American, and American first, then the country will be way better. As far as the printing of the money, as far as the devaluing of our dollars, as far as Americans being used as pawns in wars, I don't believe that's for America. You shouldn't either. I believe America is basically like this melting pot that people use whenever they feel like using it. The most powerful people. And after America is all sucked and dry, whenever bad things happen, if it all falls, all of those powerful people would just go on and be politicians and lobby in other groups in other countries and go live their life. It's like they're sucking the blood out of America. America is only where it's at because we're the reserve currency. If America tomorrow stops coming to reserve currency, our lives will go straight to hell.